Welcome, everyone. My name is Raghav Jagannathan. Today's webinar is on AI-powered intranets. That's transforming SharePoint into a legal productivity engine. As I said, my name is Raghav. I've been working with SharePoint technology since 2001. So I have a couple of decades, just over a couple of decades of experience working with this technology, implementing it at several law firms, around 29 AM law firms, around 20 mid-sized firms, approximately 6 general counsels of Fortune 100 companies around the world. I've been involved in many SharePoint implementations, close to 500 plus implementations. Today session is really going to focus on how we are transforming these next generation intranet portals built on SharePoint using the power of generative AI. Just a little bit quick kind of rundown on my experience presenting. I've been an ILTA speaker for many different conferences of ILTA, including this year's ILTACon, the SharePoint Symposium earlier this year. Also spoken at many different roadshows of Microsoft. Those QR codes also helps you. If you scan it, you'll get to some of my articles and blogs I've written on ILTAnet. I'm also the founder and CEO of two software services company. One is KLST, which is a leading digital services company for servicing law firms and professional services, primarily focused on SharePoint implementations and Copilot implementations at law firms. And my company, Clobot Inc., we focus on creating generative AI-powered platforms, integrating technologies like iManage, NetDocuments into the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, including a flagship private generative AI platform called KLapper. So today, I'm going to focus on basically intranet and the power of using generative AI within intranet. Before I get started, I just want to open up a couple of polls here just to get a sense of the audience in terms of what really drives you guys when it comes to generative AI or use of generative AI within your intranet platform, or even if you are using something like that today. So if you can please respond to those two poll questions, we'll really appreciate it. While you respond to those questions, I have a quote from one of our flagship clients, Fasken, which is one of the largest Canadian law firms. And Andrea, who's a partner in knowledge management and practice innovation, had really nice things to say about who we are and what we do from an intranet build perspective, especially for AM law firms and mid-sized firms. So today I'm going to do hands-on demos of a number of different use cases that we see across our intranet implementations, especially when it comes to using the power of generative AI to surface knowledge within that specific portal. As intranets evolve into a more digital workplace platform where attorneys start their day, basically they start their workday journey within the intranet and then navigate away either by clicking links on it or looking at a dashboard, taking an action, or looking at the fact that they have a timesheet due and clicking on it and going and filling out the timesheet. Intranet becomes like your start of the day kind of application, your go-to platform for anything that is that's relevant to your firm. So within this digital workplace platform, aka your intranet portal and SharePoint, we basically try to inject generative AI in different locations. For example, the one you're looking at here in the screenshot, which I'll do a live demo of, is how we are injecting an agent, a generative AI-powered agent that's able to kind of interact with the user within the search box as if it's talking to a chatbot. In this example, it's basically the attorney comes off and says, look, who's the responsible lawyer for a specific matter he's working on? Or asking a simple HR policy and procedure question, like how many vacation days am I entitled to? Or even finding out how many vacation days do I actually get? So the intelligent search is able to surface this kind of information right at the fingertips for the attorney. One more example is how the same search box, rather than just getting information on leaves and to-dos and so on, it can also be used for document research. or case or matter research, bringing content from DMS software, in this case, like Net Documents or iManage for that matter, where the attorney is able to ask a very sophisticated question, a very sophisticated prompt within the search box, and the answer is a lot more involved than just getting information around leave or expense claim procedures. So a chatbot is really designed for the purpose to kind of connect to many different applications, from your KM platforms to external data feeds, to basically make it super easy for the attorney to kind of consume the data, get the answer they seek. Now, when you think about an intelligent agent, there's a reason I use the word agent, because when you use the word agent, it also means that it's something, as you know, that the agent can also do things on behalf of the attorney. So this is a great example of a screenshot, and I'll do a live demo of this as well, where these agents within this SharePoint intranet is able to actually do the attorney's timesheet. Or this agent is able to basically parse the fact that the attorney is having an issue with their laptop or desktop or their computing equipment, and is able to kind of create a service, an IT support ticket in your IT help desk system. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to quickly show you some live demos of what I've talked about so far. To do this live demo, I'm going to go here to my demo intranet portal. And as you can see, I have a SharePoint online business intranet built on our software, Legal 101, which is a intranet ready to go out of the box solution for law firms to use. With Legal 101, customers, law firms can, within weeks, launch the intranet with ready to use web parts and extensions, numbering to around 100 web parts and extensions, including 6 to 8 site templates and page templates for easy content management and creation. So here I have my Legal 101 demo law firm portal, where I'm actually going to show you some examples of a generative AI powered assistant agent in action. These agents have been built with our technology called KLapper, which is a proprietary generative AI, private generative AI platform that you can use to build agents, no-code agents. So that agent, before this demo, we built it with our KLapper platform using drag and drop, and we deployed that within this intranet. So let's look at the first case I want to show you is the simple use case around HR, right? So for example, just maybe I'm gonna, just to save on time, I have a series of prompts that I'm just gonna copy and paste here so that it's easier for us to kind of quickly look at those examples rather than me typing. So in that way, we save some time. So the first prompt I'm gonna copy and paste here is the prompt we saw on the screenshot of the PowerPoint, which is how many vacation days do I get? As you might notice that I'm actually logged in here as Raghav Jagannathan. I'm the CEO of KLST, happen to be part of the C-title team members here, also called senior executive. And one of the things that any agentic AI or agent-based platform should be able to do is to recognize who you are in the firm and automatically tailor its response based on who you are. So a persona-driven agent is what I'm really focused on here. So for example, here I'm asking a question on how many vacation days do I get, and on this, in this other window, I'm actually logged in as John, a demo user who happens to be part of the technical team. He's not a senior executive. So we want to see how the generative AI agent is able to understand who this person is and able to tailor its response based on the person's membership, based on the person's persona, right? So in this instance, you can see here, it automatically comes back and says that you're entitled to unlimited vacation days, and it cites the citation, the C-title handbook that I can go and refer back in iManage or NetDocs. Whereas in this other window, as you can see, the agent coming back with the answer and saying, look, this is the number of days you're actually allowed, like 10 vacation days. So you can see that based on or 15 vacation days to be exact, once a certain tenure has been met. But you can see how the agent is aware of the persona. So it knows that John is not part of the executive team, so it should automatically infer the question's answer from a set of documents that basically is targeted to that persona. So using a generative AI agent and getting answers is literally straightforward to build the technology stack that we have available in the market. But making it persona aware, making it security aware, making the answers more relevant to who the person is what's more important. So I'm going to keep moving here. I'm going to go back to my persona here just to show you some additional examples of HR policies in action. For example, what if I want to find out what my work from home policy is, which is very important in the world we live in because a lot of people do work from home a couple of days a week or 3 days a week or whatnot. So it's important to kind of get instant answers to that. And my agent-powered search in my SharePoint portal is able to do that. In the absence of an agent-powered search, if you ask a question like this, you simply won't get an answer because it's a more text-based question unless you're using some sort of an enterprise search tool that actually understands natural language, aka crossing over generative AI or AI technology. This simply just won't work in SharePoint search. So for this to work, you have to use the power of an agentic AI or generative AI platform like KLapper that actually is able to spit out an agent and easily deploys into a SharePoint search box and integrates that experience seamlessly for the user. So straight up, and one of the things that you see with these generative AI answers compared to regular search results in SharePoint is that you get answers, you don't get links. So you can see that I actually got the answer to my question. I didn't get a link. One more example I'm going to play here is what is the process of performance appraisal. So I'm up completing my year at this firm, and I want to understand how does performance appraisal work, and how do I get a higher pay? How do I know that my managers are happy? What KPIs are they measuring me against? So basically, the performance appraisal again is a very relative term because depending on your position in the firm, depending on your role, depending on your persona, it could be a very different answer. So again, the same concept applies where the performance appraisal question, if John asks this question, it get a possibly a different answer compared to what I'm seeing here. So these are some examples of HR policies and procedures of a smart agent deployed within the search bar of SharePoint being able to answer those questions. And not just answering questions based on with hyperlinks, which is what typically SharePoint users are used to. This is actually giving me contextual answers. It's actually telling me the answers based on who I am, my persona, and the content I have access to. So extending this further, let's look at iManage and NetDocs, how this works. For example, I'm an attorney, and most attorneys know their document numbers by heart. If I come into my agent and I simply in the search bar, I don't know there's an agent as an attorney, I simply type in my document number. Because I'm looking for a document, I don't want to go and find that in iManage. And you can see that the same agent, which was answering questions on HR policies and procedures, all of a sudden goes into a different mode and tries to find that information in iManage and gets me back that information right there. So it also gives me a quick summary of what I was looking for. But the search doesn't quite stop there. For example, because it's a generative AI search and because it's understood those content sources from iManage, I can keep going. I can ask additional questions. For example, here I'm actually asking a question around whether there is a non-disclosure, if there is a non-disclosure agreement for this client that I'm working on. And immediately it comes back with an answer and says, yeah, there is. And it gives me quickly the information that I'm looking for right here. So once I click on that document, you can see that I can immediately access that in iManage, right? So again, it doesn't quite stop here because as a generative AI agent, context matters because I'm now getting somewhere with my queries. So all of a sudden, I'm using the search bar to actually do a little bit of research. So I'm actually trying to find out whether I have an NDA for this client, and the answer was, yeah, you do. And so the next obvious question for me to ask is, okay, that's great. When was it signed? Who signed it? And tell me more, right? So I can simply type in that, who signed this KLST NDA and on what date? So I don't want to go looking for the information. I just simply ask the question. And you can see that because it's using the power of generative AI, the agent behind the scenes has already learned the data set in iManage and is able to kind of query the data real time and give me back that intelligence that otherwise I have to open the document and have a look. Now, let's do a little bit more advanced research. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask it. So far we've asked you to find an NDA for a client, which is an iManage. It's found me one. Now, next I asked it, oh, when was it signed and who signed it? It gave me that information. So I'm going to ask it to do a little bit more right through the search bar. So because there's it's something called conversation continuity in the generative AI world. As I ask these questions, it automatically continues the conversation. So I'm going to ask a little bit more involved prompt here. Basically, I'm asking now that, hey, based on this NDA that you found, can you suggest some prompts to help me redline this document better? So it now goes through the contract and suggests some redlines for me that is in more favor of KLSD, the company I'm representing today. So it literally went through the document and suggests all the different sections that should be updated based on my request to make it more favorable to KLSD. So this is a really good example of how you can use the power of basically generative AI powered search, not just to find content, just find a document, but also do document research and analysis, and possibly follow through with an action like redlining the document as well. So let me show you for the some of the net documents guys here on the call, how this might work for net documents. Similar concept, just to tick the box here, just to make sure that if you're using net documents, this concept is very similar. So if you type in your document ID, let's say for net documents, because this agent is in this instance typically won't happen, but in this instance trained on both NetDocs and iManage data. So it's automatically goes and finds me that information, which is the document I'm seeing, and you can see here it automatically cites that in NetDocs. So I can click on that, and it just simply opens that document in NetDocs. So now what I'm going to do here is again a similar concept, but I'm going to do a little bit more analysis. So because it found me a document in NetDocs, which is right here, this document right here, I'm actually going to ask it a question which is inside the document, right? So you can see here within the document there is some phone numbers, right? So I'm just simply going to ask, okay, so what is the contact number? Again, going back to my agent here within search box in SharePoint, I'm going to ask what is the contact number for Bergen County Code. And because it's learned the data within the document, it extracts it already knows the answer, and it cites that, oh, this is the document I learned it from. I simply open that document in NetDocs. So similar concept for net documents users. So the ability to kind of find information at your fingertips based on just straight up English language. So let's look at beyond DMS, how our search bar here, which is what we call a interactive advanced intelligence search bar, is able to answer questions from SharePoint, right? For example, what if I have lots and lots of SharePoint lists? For example, contact lists, calendars, events lists, and so on and so forth. So let's look at one more example, and then we'll do a quick poll. All right. So one more example I want to show you is SharePoint data. For example, often we see law firms manage events calendar, right, in their intranet. It has hundreds and thousands of events. So an intelligent agent powered by KLapper was able to learn all the data from a SharePoint list as well. So if I ask a question like, when is the next partner retreat, for example, it's able to tell me, oh, the next partner retreat is listed here on this specific date. Or if I ask a question like, when is the next employee town hall, and where is it supposed to be, right? So, and these are all the kind of key events that are are scheduled on the events calendar list of the intranet for your firm. So it's because the agents already learned the data, it's automatically able to kind of bring back that intelligence from within SharePoint. So again, what we're looking at here is, again, if you were to do the same thing with a traditional SharePoint search, you just won't get any results because it's the traditional search in SharePoint is not designed to understand the language, understand what the user is trying to say. Okay. So at this point, what I'm going to open up is a couple of poll questions. If you can please respond to these 2 poll questions, that'll help us understand some of the key hot button topics that you have. So far, what you've seen, it'll also help us understand, what sort of information that you care about in terms of surfacing within your intranet. So while you answer those questions, I'm going to keep moving here. The poll will remain open for a few minutes. Please do respond. So the next set of kind of prompts I want to show you is basically, instead of using the search box here, I'm actually going to show you the chat bot. So now, remember, the agent that I'm using here, built by a technology that we have built called KLapper, which is a private AI platform. It's basically built an agent that's learned a lot of different data sets, from SharePoint to iManage/NetDocs, through to some documents like handbook documents and so on, right? Now, once you build the agent, you can deploy the agent in the search bar, like how we did right now, or you can deploy it as a traditional chatbot. Like this is an example of a chatbot that almost everybody here will be familiar with, where the chatbot just lives in the corner, right-hand corner, which most people know it exists if it's there, and they know that they can click on it and interact with it. So it's the same chatbot that was in the search bar, except that it looks like a chatbot. So for the rest of the demo, I'm going to use this chatbot for showing some additional examples. How you can have a very smart chatbot, not in the search bar, but as a traditional chatbot that lives within my SharePoint pages, also knows about where it lives and who I am interacting with. You can see here it says, "Welcome Raghav Jagannathan." So it knows who I am. It already knows what Entra groups and stuff I'm part of. So it'll always answer questions based on my security memberships, including WAL. Say, for example, if I'm allowed and denied access in either NetDocuments WALs or iManage SPM, it'll recognize that, and it'll not show me data that I'm not allowed to see. So this is what we call a contextually smart assistant, because it knows who I am, it's contextual, it's personalized, and it's secure, because it's only going to show you data that you're allowed to see. External platforms. So let's look at some examples of document analysis prompts. For example, prompts that I would be using here would be basically based on some data that I've trained this agent on. So I've actually trained this agent on a set of documents in iManage that talks about commercial lease agreements and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is, instead of typing all the prompt, I'm going to simply use our prompt builder within this chatbot to basically show you some examples. So here, the first prompt I want to play here is a prompt called, let's say it's to ask the chatbot. So we call this document analysis prompts because I'm actually doing document analysis using my iManage data within SharePoint. So I'm going to just play this for now, and I'll explain what exactly is going on. So what I'm asking you to do is to basically go and analyze a specific folder in iManage that I have access to. And I'm basically asking it to go through and highlight all the different unusual termination clauses within a commercial lease agreement, just to show you where it's reading the data from. So it's basically, I've trained this agent on everything and anything in this specific folder called court rulings, as you can see, right? So basically what this agent did right there is gonna go in and highlight for me all the different unusual termination rights and clauses within that lease agreement document. I'm gonna keep going here. So the next one I wanna show you is within the same source I've trained this agent on using our platform KLapper and deployed in SharePoint. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna ask it a series of questions, actionable data. For example, you can see here I have a specific document here, which you may not know what's in there, but this document has some key dates that I need to action or a paralegal has to action, do a follow-up on, right? But instead of going through the document and asking and understanding what these dates are and so on and so forth, you can simply use a generative AI-powered agent that's already learned the data from iManage. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to again use my prompt library. And you can see that I have a specific prompt here, a pre-built prompt that says list all the deadlines from that document and the dates for a paralegal to follow up. And this is going to go in, because it's read every single document in that folder and understood it. It's going to go through and do that. I'm going to do the same thing in a different language, just to kind of show you how this is multilingual as well. So I'm going to use the same a different prompt, but in Spanish, to kind of show you how a generative AI agent, especially if you're a multinational firm and you have speakers, people who speak in multiple languages, a powerful generative AI assistant, in this case powered by KLapper, is able to speak around 86 languages. So you can ask a question in English, it can answer in English. If you can train the agent in Spanish, French, Italian, and you can interact with that agent in English, right? So basically using the multi-language capability, this is basically able to answer questions or the answers for me for my question based on my native language. But again, let's go beyond the DMS. So let's see some additional examples of how a smart agent, a smart chatbot like this can surface knowledge beyond DMS. So far, we've looked at SharePoint, iManage, NetDocs. But what about time and billing platforms? What about 3E? What about Aderant? What about Intab? What about any other time and billing platform that you may have access to and use in your firm? So let's look at that. So let's go and play a couple of prompts that are more time and billing focused. So that, for example, this one right here, where I'm going to ask it to give me some of the recent litigation matters that are billings of 20K over. And you can see here that it's now basically crossing over to different knowledge sources. Now it's basically entered my warehouse and finding that information for me right at my fingertips, right? So instead of going and analyzing hundreds, if not thousands of records to get that intelligence, this is able to do that literally within seconds. So very powerful journey by agent. If you surface that in your intranet, typically most intranets will have dashboards like this. Like we have this, finance at a glance. You can see all these dashboards, which are pretty cool. Now, you don't have to go hunting for it. If you have a generative AI agent, you don't have to browse the intranet. The idea is that you can simply ask the agent questions, and it can answer. One more example would be, for example, rather than do it, you might have seen some of the dashboard shows time entries. So instead of doing that, instead of going through the time entries and analyzing it and so on, I'm simply going to go in here. I have a pre-built prompt here that says that is asking the chatbot to go and analyze a bunch of time entries, thousands of them, and flag some anomalies in some of the time entries, right? Especially that are running over the budget. And you can see here, it's literally doing the analysis as we speak, and it's coming back and saying there are a couple of tasks that are problematic child. All right, discovery requests and deposition preparation. These seems to be constantly running over based on the time entries for that. So the last couple of minutes we have left, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to show you an agentic AI example. So far what we've seen is how this agent is actually surfacing data for me, right? Surfacing data from many different KM platforms, knowledge platforms. But in this specific example, what I'm going to ask the agent to do is to do work on behalf of me. So I'm actually asked the agent to schedule a meeting on behalf of me, or do a support ticket on behalf of me, or even better, do timesheet on behalf of me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply ask the agent to do a timesheet. Let's do it. So I'm going to simply say, hey, agent, go and add 3 hours for me for this task that I'm working on for the KLapper project. And what this does is now the agent gets to work. So obviously this is a demo, so it's asking me to log in. Will typically be like a single sign-on. And this example, we're just using an application, a sample timesheet application from a provider called Harvest. It doesn't have to be Harvest, could be literally any application from Harvest to Intap to Aderant to whatever. And basically the idea is that KLapper is able to real-time connect to that timesheet platform and do the timesheet for me. Okay, so basically what we've learned today is how you can use the power of generative AI to create agents using platforms like KLapper, which is a private generative AI, a private AI, secure AI platform, deploys within the firm's tenant and learns from many different sources. You use an application like KLapper to create an agent that has already learned data from many different sources, from iManage to SharePoint to NetDocs, as well as your SQL time and billing databases as well. And once you have that agent built, you can seamlessly deploy that agent within the SharePoint search bar or as a chatbot. So you now give the power to the attorneys to basically surface knowledge where they work, when they work. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of thoughts here as I wrap up this webinar. We've seen how agents can be deployed in SharePoint, but with the power of our agentic AI platform, KLapper, you can also deploy these agents in a mobile device. So the idea behind intelligence everywhere or within a Microsoft Word document. So we have a couple of questions here that I just want to answer before we wrap up. One of the questions here is that do we support on-prem versions of iManage and SharePoint? The answer is yes. So our agentic AI platform, you can build agents that are trained in data that is from iManage Work Server 10.4 or above, as well as SharePoint 2019 and SharePoint SC version. So we are right on time here. If there's any other questions, we'll answer that as a post-webinar follow-up. Thank you so much for attending the call. I appreciate it.